Darkness, silence, the weight of the earth pressing in from all sides. For some, cave exploration is the ultimate thrill, an uncharted world beneath our feet. But in the depths of these underground labyrinths, a single mistake can mean the difference between life and death. Tonight, we descend into 3 tragic tales of caving disasters, where adventure turned into nightmare, and not everyone made it out alive. Viewer discretion is advised.
Dark greetings, love. I am Lord Freakzilla, your guide through the eerie and mysterious world of Gothic sagas. I bring you chilling tales of unexplained disappearances, strange encounters, bizarre accidents, and spine-tingling, creepy stories. If this stirs your curiosity, go ahead and hit the subscribe button, terrorize the like button, and ring our bell. Now, settle in, dim the lights, and join me as we journey into the shadows where darkness reigns and secrets lurk.
About 30 minutes east of Huntsville, Alabama, there's a hiking trail that winds its way deep into the woods. At first glance, it seems like an ordinary path, rocky in places, crossing over a few small creeks, but as you venture further, the terrain begins to change. Hills rise on either side of the trail, growing taller and steeper until it feels like you're walking into the throat of a canyon. Eventually, the trail leads towards a towering cliff face, appearing to dead end at its base. Just before reaching the cliff, the ground starts to slope downward gently, but this is where you must be incredibly cautious. Without much warning, the slope suddenly drops off into a massive vertical chasm, a 143-foot deep pit known as the Stevens Gap Pit. This pit is one of the 2 entrances to Stevens Gap Cave, and by far the most treacherous. On one side of the pit, there's a relatively stable flat edge where people can stand, but the side coming directly off the trail slopes dangerously towards the opening. It's frighteningly easy to lose your footing and slip straight into the abyss. A fall from this height is almost certainly fatal. Fortunately, there's a safer way into Stevens Gap Cave. Just a short distance from the pit, there's a larger entrance with a more gradual slope that leads down towards the cave floor. Still, even with this easier route, reaching the bottom of the cave and the base of the pit itself requires navigating a network of damp, rocky tunnels. As with most caves, anyone exploring Stevens Gap needs proper gear, like a helmet with a headlamp due to the overwhelming darkness inside. Today, Stevens Gap Cave is privately owned, and visitors must obtain a permit to enter. This restriction helps preserve the site and prevents reckless explorers from stumbling in and risking their lives. The danger is especially heightened at night when the pit's opening becomes nearly indistinguishable from the surrounding landscape. In August 1997, a woman named Karen set out to explore Stevens Gap with a group of fellow cavers. Unlike those who take the safe route, Karen planned to rappel directly into the pit, a risky but thrilling descent favored by experienced adventurers. The group set up their rappel anchor near the edge of the chasm, securing the rope either to bolted rocks or sturdy nearby trees. Karen donned her harness and helmet, attaching a rappel device to the front of her harness. This specialized device allows a climber to feed the rope through it, controlling the speed of their descent. Given the pit's 143-foot depth, the rope needed to be significantly longer than that distance, with extra slack to ensure safety. Once everything was in place, Karen prepared to descend. She grasped the rope, carefully backed over the edge, and began lowering herself into the void. At first, everything seemed normal. She passed the 10-foot mark, then 20 feet, then 30. But as she reached approximately 40 feet, something went terribly wrong. Without warning, the rope slipped completely through the rappel device, and Karen plummeted over 100 feet to the bottom of the pit. She died on impact. Later investigation revealed the tragic mistake. Karen had mistakenly attached the wrong rope, the safety line, to her rappel device. This line was only 40 feet long and lacked a crucial knot at the end that would have prevented it from slipping through the device. By the time she realized the error, it was too late. Her body was eventually recovered from the base of Stevens Gap Pit, but hers was not the only life lost there. Over the years, multiple fatalities have occurred in the cave, with several eerily similar accidents involving rope failures, equipment malfunctions, and slips. Between 2015 and 2019 alone, 4 people died there. Grim reminders of the deadly risk that awaits at the end of this seemingly ordinary trail through the Alabama wood. In May of 1990, 5 divers gathered at a campground near Gainesville, Florida, preparing for a day of underwater exploration. They planned to engage in a type of diving known as potholing, moving from one spring to another, marveling at the crystal clear water and abundant aquatic life. Florida's numerous surface springs made it a perfect location for this adventure, and on this day, they chose Otter Springs, a small but inviting body of water with a maximum depth of 40 feet. Its clear, warm water and teeming sea life made it an ideal spot, but beneath its calm surface lay a hidden danger. The group consisted of Jackie, an experienced diver and former instructor, brothers Ron and Alan, and their friends Chris and Ken. Despite Jackie's experience and Ron's moderate experience, the others had fewer than 7 dives each, far from the level of training required for cave diving. As they descended to the spring's bottom, they discovered a large crack along the floor, leading to an entrance into an underwater cave system. The temptation to explore was strong, but none of them were certified for cave diving, a crucial and often life-saving qualification. Jackie, aware of the dangers, signaled to Ken not to enter the cave, and he reluctantly agreed. As they prepared to ascend, Jackie pointed to her gauge, indicating their air supply was running low. She led the way back up to the surface, but when she reached the top and looked back, she realized no one had followed her. Fear gripped her as she waited, watching bubbles rise from the cave entrance, hoping the others would soon emerge. Meanwhile, inside the cave, Ken's curiosity got the better of him. Ignoring his training and Jackie's warning, he slipped into the narrow tunnel. The others, worried for his safety, followed him inside, hoping to keep him from getting lost. At first, they were awed at the beauty of the cave, swimming through its twisting passages and pointing out fascinating formations. But the group's movement stirred up silt from the cave floor, and soon their visibility dropped to 0. Panic set in. Ron, disoriented and hyperventilating, found himself unable to see the walls, ceiling, or even which way was up. In his frantic attempts to find the exit, he bumped into rocky surfaces and burned through his air supply at an alarming rate. Then, miraculously, he spotted light ahead. By sheer luck, he stumbled back into the entrance tunnel and swam desperately to the surface. When Ron emerged alone, Jackie's heart sank. Knowing the others were still inside, she faced an agonizing decision. With her air supply low, going back in would likely be a fatal mistake. As they debated their next move, a nearby diver overheard their panic and rushed to go get help. By sheer luck, a renowned cave diver named Woody Jasper was attending a nearby barbecue. With over 500 dives to his name and his equipment ready in his truck, Woody quickly suited up and entered the cave. Time was running out. The others had been submerged for nearly an hour, far longer than their equipment was designed for. As Woody navigated the silty tunnels, he found a discarded diving mask, a grim sign of panic and imminent drowning. Moments later, he spotted 4 legs huddled in a crevice, their owner's head barely above water in a small air pocket formed from their own exhaled gas. When his attempts to signal them failed, he realized they had fallen unconscious. Woody acted fast, pulling Alan to the surface first. Blue and unresponsive, Alan was immediately given CPR. Against the odds, his condition began to improve, his eyes flickering as he regained a weak pulse. Returning to the cave, Woody found Chris, miraculously still alive. With careful buddy breathing, they made their way to the surface, where Chris managed to climb out of the water on his own. On Woody's final dive, he located Ken, the first to enter and the last to be found. Tragically, Ken had drowned, his body lifeless after too long without oxygen. Despite heroic efforts, his curiosity and inexperience had cost him his life. The Otter Springs dive incident remains a stark reminder of the perils of cave diving without proper training. Even with the allure of underwater beauty, The risk of venturing into the unknown demand respect and caution, a lesson paid for in heartbreak and loss.
If you're enjoying this content, give this video a like and let us know in the comments below.
Yorkshire Dales National Park in England is a caver's paradise, a landscape shaped by a perfect combination of geological and weather conditions. The surface is covered in limestone, and with England's frequent rainfall, the area is riddled with an astonishing network of over 2,500 known caves, with many more likely still undiscovered. Some of these caves are simple potholes, while others are sprawling underground labyrinths with chambers vast enough to fit entire buildings. Many of these systems connect through impossible tight passages, creating an underground world both breathtaking and dangerous. About an hour from the park lies Tadcaster Grammar School, a high school known for its adventurous field trips. One of the students' favorite excursions was the yearly caving trip to the Yorkshire Dales. These trips were designed for beginners, exploring safer, less technical caves with stunning formations and fascinating fossil displays. In November 2005, a group of 10 students and 3 teachers set out for one of these trips, eager to experience the alien beauty of the underground world. After an hour's drive to the park's Welcome Center and another 45 minutes through the rolling green hills, they arrived at a small, unassuming depression in the landscape. From a distance, it looked like nothing more than a slight dip covered in bushes and a long tree stump. But as they approached, the depression revealed a narrow opening, the entrance to Manchester Hole. Despite its modest appearance, this cave system descended over 1,000 feet underground and was part of the even larger Gothic pot system, a system of tunnels stretching for miles beneath the grassy hills. Manchester Hole, while expansive, was considered a relatively easy cave. There were no dangerous vertical shafts or claustrophobic squeezes, and no special equipment was required beyond waterproof clothing and helmets with headlamps. For this reason, it was a popular destination for amateur cavers offering adventure without excessive risk, perfect for a group of 14-year-olds on their first caving expedition. The students donned their yellow rubber suits and helmets and entered the cave from a rocky creek bed. As they descended through the boulders, the light quickly faded, replaced by the dim beams of their headlamps. They passed through wide corridors with jagged rocks and an 8-foot ceiling, and soon reached a massive chamber resembling a theater. This room was lined with shallow puddles and a small stream, but lacked the usual stalactites. Instead, the ceiling was covered in a layer of mud, a telltale sign of the cave's tendency to flood. Excitement grew as they scrambled over boulders and explored more chambers, marveling at the fossil-covered walls. Eventually, they reached Manchester Hole's only real challenge, a section known as the Crawl. This 40-foot passage had a low 3-foot ceiling and a U-shaped depression midway through, forcing them to dip into 6 inches of water before climbing back up. It was a mild obstacle compared to other caves, but still enough to require careful navigation. After crossing the Crawl, the group split into smaller teams to explore more of the cave's formations. But their excitement soon turned to dread. Unbeknownst to them, a nearby water reservoir had been affected by powerful winds, creating massive waves that crashed against a stone dam. The resulting surge poured directly into Manchester's Hole, and the water level inside the cave began rising at an alarming rate. What had been ankle-deep water turned into chest-deep currents within minutes. Panic swept through the group as they raced back towards the entrance. The crawl became a terrifying bottleneck, now fully submerged. Students had to swim through freezing, rushing water, their dimming headlights their only guide. At the back of the group were one of the instructors and a student named Joe, a strong swimmer and well-loved classmate. As others struggled through the submerged passage, Joe stayed behind to help. When their turn came, they swam into the tunnel but were forced to retreat after colliding with others still making their way through. After waiting briefly, they tried again. This time, Joe went ahead. It was the last time anyone saw him alive. The rest of the group reached the surface, shocked to find the calm, rainless countryside transformed. The gentle creek they had entered through was now a raging river. Amid the confusion and relief, a head count revealed a horrifying truth. Joe was missing. With no cell reception, it took precious time to call for help. By late afternoon, 40 rescuers arrived and navigated the now draining cave system. Within an hour, they found Joe near the crawl, severely hypothermic, and unresponsive. Despite their efforts, he never regained consciousness. Joe's death devastated the community. He had been a star athlete, an outstanding student, and a beloved friend. The tragedy was compounded by questions of what exactly went wrong. It's believed that the combination of freezing water, dim lighting, and strong currents caused him to lose his way, eventually succumbing to exhaustion and cold. His body was likely carried back to the crawl by the very flood that took his life. Though there was anger and accusations of negligence, investigations found the instructors had followed safety protocols. The sudden surge was unprecedented. Water levels in Manchester Hole had never risen so quickly before or since. Joe's death remains a tragic and freak occurrence, a sobering reminder of the unpredictable power of nature.
That wraps it up for today. Thank you so much for watching and spending time with me. It truly means the world. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe so you don't miss out. Each week, we dive into the unexplained, strange disappearances, true crime, tragic accidents, paranormal encounters, cryptids, and more. If there's a story you'd like me to cover, drop it in the comments below. I'd love to hear your suggestions. I can't wait to see you next time as we explore the natural and unnatural mysteries of our world, luring you into a beautiful nightmare. Until then, sending you blessings and positive energy, love.